My top 15 predictions and preview for the 2023 Mr. Olympia. What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back for another video in my top 15 predictions and preview for 2023 Mr. Olympia in under 3 weeks time now. It's getting close. This is my first lot of predictions. I'm going to go from 15th all the way up to first. You guys can see the competitors list on the screen right now. There's a few noticeable absentees out of that, like Brett Wilkin, Ian Valier, but you guys know the names if you've been keeping up with bodybuilding. So here's my top 15 predictions. In 15th place, I have Ross Flanagan. This guy competed earlier this year. He has crazy wheels, like the legs are absolutely insane. Much like a Roman Fritz, who I have just placing outside the top 15. The legs are crazy, but the upper body's slightly behind that, but Ross is improving on that. I think he's going to bring a great package. He came in great shape earlier this year. He beat out Tony Burton, Sergio Oliva Jr., a bunch of really, really good names. And I think he should be considered as a guy that can not only place in the top 15, but can also push a little bit higher if he nails it and a few other guys miss it. In 14th place, I have the man that Ross actually beat in that show earlier this year, in Tonio Burton. I think Tonio was very, very close to that show. I personally had Tonio edging Ross Flanagan, but obviously I wasn't there. It's very different when you're there in person. Tonio obviously won the New York Pro, beat out some good names like Stuart Sutherland, who is a guy that could have potentially qualified for this year's Mr. Olympia. He's definitely of that standard. Tonio brings a lot of density. He's very, very round, like a Dexter Jackson / Michael Lockett, as I mentioned in the past. Some crazy muscle. And I'm very, very excited to see Tonio Burton's open Mr. Olympia debut. Now, another guy, as all these guys have been so far, making their Olympia debut in Justin Shire, won the Chicago Pro earlier this year. Looked really damn good, copped a little bit of criticism, but I'd say the lighting there was just not the best. It really, really wasn't, and it showed these guys in probably a worse light than they actually look. Justin has crazy shape, like his waist is tiny, huge arms, nice round legs. His back can come up a little bit, but he's improving contest to contest, no doubt, and I cannot wait to see what he looks like. And he wants a certain amount of redemption as well, because some people were saying that, it was a weaker show or whatever, but I believe that was mostly just on the lighting, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Justin can not only place top 15, but can maybe even push to challenge for that top 10. In 12th place, I have Andrea Presti, a guy that's often forgotten, but every time he shows up on stage, he looks really, really good. He was close with Brett Wilkin late last year, where Brett Wilkin qualified for the 2023 Mr. Olympia, which unfortunately he's had to drop out of. But Andrea Presti was right there, and I consider Brett Wilkin to be a top 10 guy, or at least a top 10 contender. So that puts Andrea Presti right up there. Individually, even though Presti is a taller guy, he doesn't look as impressive on his own unless he's hitting like a front double bicep or something. But when you stand him next to people, he is one of the widest guys up there. So when you got the height, you got the width, and you got a good level of muscularity, you're going to do pretty well. Now, if Andrea Presti can bring up his legs to match that upper body, he's going to be super dangerous and pushing into the top 10, I have no doubt. In 11th place, I have Regan Grimes. This would be a huge step up for Regan. Last time he competed at the Olympia, I believe he was equal last with probably a bunch of other guys, which is equal 16th. I think Regan has made some definite improvements in terms of size. The conditioning, if he's able to nail that down and come in his best shape of his life, then he is definitely probably going to be a top 10 guy in this lineup, because he has the structure, he has the size, he's got a nice shaped physique, nice round muscle bellies. He's definitely a threat, no doubt. And as you guys know, he obviously took out Nathan Diasha just a few weeks back. So Regan Grimes I have placing 11th, but I have no doubt he can push into the top 10 too if he nails it. In 10th place, I have Baruz Tabani. Now, Baruz, we don't know if he'll get to the US or not. Obviously, he's from Iran. We don't know if he'll be able to get that visa. It's obviously very late right now, but we have seen Hadi Choopan at the last minute get his visa and get to America and be able to compete in that Mr. Olympia. So praying for Baruz's sake that he's able to actually get that visa. I did report a couple of days ago that he actually had gotten his visa, and that was a bit of a dodgy Instagram translate from his native language. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. There's some people, I believe it was Farsi that they speak. I believe a few people that could actually translate that correctly said no, he's actually said he's hoping to get his visa, where the translate, I believe, said he did get his visa. So I was sort of bummed out to hear that because Baruz has a great physique, a very small waist. His legs are the only thing that's slightly down on his upper body, but that's marginal anyway. Crazy X-frame, and I really hope he gets his qualification because he's a great competitor and he always seems to come in condition as well. In ninth place, I have Mikhail Krizanek or Mikhail Krizo. Now, I was debating between who to put in this spot. I decided with Mikhail Krizo because he's not proven it as many times as some of these guys above him. But if he comes in at his all-time best, that back is looking really thick, he comes in really crisp, and that muscle is pushing hard against the skin, he's going to be hard to deny because he is a big dude, one of the greatest frontal biceps on the planet today. I don't know, he's a tough one to place. He could place up inside that top 6 or he could place 10th. Very tough to pick, but in 9th I have Mikhail Krizo. In 8th I have Nathan Diasha making his return to the Olympia. He's looking really good in his recent physique updates. I'm super impressed, and when Nathan's looking good in his physique updates versus what he looks like on stage, then you know what he's going to bring to the stage is going to be very impressive. Very round muscle bellies, very small waist, round quads, round shoulders, a lot of hard, dense, thick muscle there as well. And with that roundness and the prettiness to his physique, I think that puts him in a good spot, especially with the way things have been trending lately with physiques like Andrew Jack, Samson Dauda, and all those guys doing well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how high he can push up in Mr. Olympia, and I'm very excited for his Olympia return. In 7th place, I have Hunter Labrada. He's really proved it this year. He's proved that he can come in really good shape. Did he fade when he's posing against Andrew Jack? Yes, he did, but not to the levels of we saw Mikhail Krizo fade last year when he competed in his show that he qualified for the Olympia in. He was fading by the second, and to the point where he's sweating and couldn't hold his midsection in. It wasn't that bad for Hunter Labrada, but it was enough to give Andrew Jack the nod, but he did steal points from Andrew Jack in that contest. It was not a unanimous decision, so it could be very close. Hunter could push up into that top 5. I have no doubt about that because he is very complete, head to toe. People used to say about his back being undersized. That is no longer an issue. His back is almost a strength now. So when guys are able to make their weaknesses into strengths, I'm always so super impressed. So Hunter Labrada I have in 7th, but really he's the unlucky one of the bunch that I'm actually predicting for this contest. In 6th place, I have Andrew Jack or Shinadu Andrew Obika. He is an absolute freak, and this guy could win the Mr. Olympia in 2023, realistically. He has such presence on stage, it's insane. And he has improved some of those weaker shots as well. Those shots from the side where his side leg doesn't look as impressive, they've definitely improved, especially from when you see what he looked like a couple of years ago. He's bringing more size to the stage. He's bringing great conditioning. His posing's getting better. Overall, what he's bringing to the stage each time is getting better. So I'm very excited to see how high Andrew Jack can place at the Olympia. And now that he's going to be probably in this top 6, top 7, and above 8th where he came last year with better conditioning, it's going to be very interesting to see if he's in the first call out where they sort of put him in the lineup, because he's going to stand out, especially him and a guy like Samson Dauda as well, who's tall, athletic, and has a good level of muscularity as well. In 5th place, another aesthetic guy in Brandon Curry, your 2019 Mr. Olympia. And originally when I did this list, I put Brandon in 3rd. And honestly, I think that could happen. I think Brandon could place even higher than that if he brings his all-time best to the stage. He's going to require some of his best conditioning of all time, plus a level of fullness on his physique too, because we know if he gets too conditioned, he might lose a little bit in the legs. But Brandon Curry, by his latest updates, which were just posted, he looks very good, as you guys can see on the screen right now. Aesthetic, round, how conditioned will he be? Will the legs be an issue? They're the only true issues, but from every other part of his physique outside of the legs, he's going to look very good, and the legs look conditioned. So the conditioning is not an issue. It's really just, does he have enough muscle on those legs? If he does, and it's enough where it's not a glaring weakness, I think Brandon Curry could honestly win this contest. I'm not predicting that to happen. Obviously, I'm predicting him in 5th, but he can push against guys if he brings his all-time best. In 4th place, I have a guy that I think will bring his all-time best, which is a bit of a contradictory thing to say because last year he placed 3rd, and now I'm predicting him in 4th. I have no doubt Nick Walker can win this 2023 Mr. Olympia because he's bringing a level of freaky muscle to the stage with good conditioning. That's going to be dangerous because he is a true mass monster freak. I think he's going to be freakier than anyone else on stage, outside of maybe one other guy that I'm actually predicting for the win. The only thing that Nick lacks in terms of conditioning is those deep lines through the chest and shoulders. If he was able to get that with just more years in the gym and more maturity on his physique, that would be so, so dangerous. We're not seeing those lines that we see in some of these other guys like Hadi Choopan through the chest and whatnot on Nick Walker. And I think that's where it really hurts him in a lineup that contains Hadi Choopan. But Nick Walker is a freak, and I think no matter what, we're going to see Nick Walker in that top 5 of this year's Mr. Olympia. In third place, I have Samson Dauda. Now, Samson obviously beat Nick Walker at that Arnold Classic. He's making huge improvements show to show, and it's really hard to deny Samson, like, at least out of a top 5 finish or top 4. And honestly, Samson is another guy that could win this contest very, very easily. Obviously, Arnold Classic champion, huge improvements. That's obviously got to put you right up there. And I have no doubt Samson is going to be battling with some of these guys. And potentially, he could be, the 16th, 17th Mr. Olympia of all time. Very, very exciting for Samson Dauda, especially when you consider where Samson was just a couple of years ago, struggling to try to win a smaller pro show. And now he's a contender, and some people even consider him the guy that's going to win the 2023 Mr. Olympia. Now, in second place, we get down to the top 2. I have Hadi Choopan. Up until about a week ago, I was picking him for the win. Now I'm picking him in second, and why is that? Now, I think Hadi's going to be freaky. He probably should be the favourite. He won last year, and I think his physique still had areas where he could improve. The conditioning from the back was something that lacked a little bit, especially when he first came out at prejudging. I literally said on my live stream, I'm like, Hardy's missed it by a little bit. He won't be winning this year's Olympia. That was incredibly wrong. Obviously, he went on to win. He improved a lot while he posed. He came back better at finals as well, and that was enough for Hadi Choopan. But I believe he actually didn't win with straight first place votes. And I heard that said by Dennis James on a podcast that was just released with Jay Cutler. And it made me think, it's like Derek Lunsford took votes off Hadi Choopan last year. And for that reason, that's why I have Derek Lunsford winning this 2023 Mr. Olympia, because it was Derek's first year last year in the Open. He places second. A natural progression for Derek Lunsford is a full year of training for Mr. Olympia. Well, not a full year because it's a little bit earlier this year, but almost a full year training for this Mr. Olympia as an Open competitor and focusing on that Open. I think he's going to come in with more size, better conditioning, and we have seen some videos lately where we're seeing more lines and detail through his chest and all those areas. And you can see this comparison video here, which I actually saved and thought that, that really shows as to why Hadi Choopan won the Mr. Olympia last year. But when they turned to the back, it was almost the opposite effect, where Derek Lunsford was harder than Hadi Choopan. But I think from the back, Derek beat Hadi Choopan. But from the front, I think Hadi Choopan beat Derek Lunsford by more than Derek beat him from the back. Now, that's why I believe Hadi Choopan won the 2022 Mr. Olympia. Now, Derek Lunsford has a prettier physique. Derek Lunsford has obviously youth on his side as well. Not that Hardy's an old bodybuilder or anything like that, but I think the level of improvement from Derek Lunsford, the potential for it at least anyway, is higher. And I think Hadi Choopan, yes, he can improve, no doubt, but I think that Hadi Choopan would almost have to improve as much as or close to as much as Derek Lunsford is going to improve over this year. And I think that when you really weigh it up, I think Derek Lunsford can improve, just say 20%. And if Hadi improves 15%, then I think Derek Lunsford gets the win, because obviously it was pretty close last year. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Give me your predictions, your top 5, your top 10. Break it down and let me know what you disagree with in my predictions. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you won't miss out on any of my coverage of the 2023 Mr. Olympia and all the news and everything that's coming out in the lead up to the contest. So anyway, guys, that's it for me. My name is Xavier Wills. This is Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are out.